Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to dig down into one of the potentially most popular commanders, very well might be the most popular commander from Bloomborough. Yeah, this is super early, but I'm giving you the guide on this amazing squirrel commander. Now, why so early? Well, here's what's going to happen. When that Precon comes out, certain cards that work well with it that aren't in the Precon might spike in price. So I am giving you the early sneak peek as to what cards are going to be amazing with this commander, whether or not they are in the Precon. So you can pick some up early if you need to, or just have it ready to go and be like, okay, as soon as the Precon comes out, I got that list. I got this list of cards to look for. If they're not in there, picking up now to soup up that Precon. Let's jump into it. And that Precon is, of course, the Squirreled Away Precon. Great name. Good name, Wizards, on that one. Very clever. Anyways, Hazel of the Rootbloom is the Precon commander for this one. And just a quick read of the description of this one. Golgari. Hoard tokens. Squirrels. Stock up on tokens and spend your hoard to clean house with an army of squirrels. The deck is focused on creature and non-creature tokens and generating extra value from them. So that is what the deck is focused on. When it comes to the actual cards that are involved in the deck, we know very few. We know, I think, actually 3 in total. Cash Grab, Hazel, and Shatterfang. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. But what we know is that there's going to be a focus on tokens, whether they are creatures or non-creatures. So let's talk about the commander, what it does, and let's break it down and talk about what cards might be in the Precon, what cards, even if they're not in the Precon, you should be considering too. A 3/5 Squirrel Druid for 4 mana and Golgari, tap, pay 2 life, tap X untap tokens you control, add X mana in any combination of colors. At the beginning of your end step, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. If that token is a squirrel, and instead create 2 tokens that are copies of it. So this is a commander that is very, very interesting in that the amount of mana that it can generate you is absolutely insane. In one way, it's basically like just tap, add X mana or X number of tokens you have. That being said, obviously, you have to tap those tokens to do so. So there is a downside to that. I mean, there's a downside to that when you're tapping, like, say, a squirrel token, because you can't block with it then or do something else with it, obviously, like attack with it. Or, you know, a treasure token. You couldn't tap and sacrifice it. When it comes to like a clue token, it doesn't matter because like that one is fine whether it's tapped or untapped. You're not doing anything else with it. So this is a commander that can generate you, again, an absurd amount of mana. Just, if you ever play with a token deck, just think about how many tokens you can make. I mean, with this, you can easily produce 10, 20 plus mana just on one tap. Sure, you lose 2 life. Not a big deal at all. Plenty of ways to gain life as well, obviously. On top of that, though, very specifically, at the beginning of your end step, you get a token that's a copy of target token you control. It does not specify what kind of token it has to be. It doesn't say creature, doesn't say non-creature. Whatever it is, you can make a token copy of it. Now, that might just be, again, if it's a squirrel, great, cool. A 1/1 green squirrel, whatever it is, now you get 2 instead. Or it could be something bigger. Again, you have maybe we'll talk about some cards here in a little bit, but like a 10/10 Eldrazi, you can make a token copy and be like, oh, that's gigantic. Or sure, if you need some extra value, maybe you need to dig deeper into your deck, get an extra clue or whatever it's going to be. So keep that in mind. That being said, when it comes to flooding the board with tokens, we've got a ton of ways to do so. You can go further into squirrels if you want this commander. You can go in a different direction. You can do a combination of both. I'm going to be giving you all the options with this commander and talk about some fantastic cards too. We'll be expecting from the Precons, and if they're not in the Precons, upgrade your Precon with these. Make sure you're on top of this ahead of time so you can be, well, the first one to the draw, essentially, when it comes to getting these cards. You might even get them ahead of time, or you might get them, you know, day of when the Precons are revealed. Might help you out. So, all these cards are going to be a link in the description below. We're going to be jumping into the budget buys. Cards are less than $1. Very budget-friendly cards, even within my budget. And the pricier picks, cards that are outside of my budget, but might be within yours. Let's jump into them. So, first up for the budget buys, if you are going heavier into squirrels, or if you just want some cards to make a ton of tokens, I mean, Shatterstorm is a great one to do so. Sorcery for 2 mana, creating 1/1 green squirrel creature token, and it has Storm. So, this is a commander, again, that can generate you an absurd amount of mana. My goodness, the amount of mana that can generate you. So you generate that mana, and all of a sudden cast a bunch of spells, cast this, and you storm off. You create a ton of squirrels, which of course on future turns can, well, help you win the game, or obviously help you get even more mana out of your commander. Squirrel Sovereign. If you are going heavy into squirrels, yeah, a Squirrel Anthem like this is absolutely amazing. 2/2 Squirrel Noble for 2 mana. Other squirrels you control get ++1. Again, every single turn, again, let's just say that you're making those 1/1 squirrel tokens. You've got your commander at the end step to double that up. Instead of making 2 1/1s, you're basically making 2 2/2s. Absolutely fantastic. A great card if you are going Squirrel Tribal. Chitter Spitter, another great one as well. Gaining for upkeep, you may sacrifice a token. If you do put an acorn counter on it, squirrels you control get +1 for each acorn counter on this. Pay a green and tap. Create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. So this is a token generator for you that also allows you to sacrifice tokens, and it is giving you value for that sacrifice. Again, basically a growing anthem over time with this, as well as it being a token generator. Can be a great include if you are going heavy into squirrels. Next up, Squirrel Mob. This one says +1 for each other squirrel on the battlefield. Again, if you're going heavy into squirrels, this can be a massive creature in absolutely no time. Tribal Unity. A very surprising kind of card that can just win you the game out of nowhere. Instant for X2 and a green. Creatures of the type of your choice get +X/+X until end of turn. Here's the thing. If you are swinging your opponents with a bunch of squirrels, cool. Tap your commander for a bunch of mana, and all of a sudden, yeah, your squirrel army is absolutely massive. Instant speed. So again, after blockers are declared, if your opponent doesn't block properly, they're probably gone. Nut Collector, another great one as well. 1/1 Human Druid for 6 mana in green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Threshold. All squirrels get +2/+2 as long as 7 more cards in your graveyard. Keep in mind, this does benefit your opponent's squirrels if they have squirrels, which is unlikely. But that being said, it's a great way to pump your team, and also a great repeatable way to make tokens, which you will see is a great function for this deck. If you've got ways to make a lot of tokens over time, you can do a lot of damage with this commander. You can get a lot of mana out of your commander, so much value. Speaking of value, this is another kind of direction, not a separate direction, but something you should be considering with this commander as well. Again, because your commander does specifically say, again, you can create a token that is a copy of any of your tokens. So essentially, it doesn't matter if it's creature, non-creature, whatever it is. That being said, instead of just making, say, 2 1/1 squirrels or like an extra 1/1 soldier or whatever you're making, let's make some things that are bigger. Mimic Vat. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you may exile that card. If you do, return each other card exile with Mimic Vat to its owner's graveyard. Pay 3, tap, create token's copy of the exiled card with Mimic Vat. It gains haste, exile beginning the next end step. So that token does exile. That being said, you can stack those triggers however you would like. So, while that token copy of that creature is still around, use your commander to create a permanent token copy of it that will stick around. So all of a sudden, again, whatever that best creature up there was that died, again, whether it's yours or your opponent's, all of a sudden, you kind of store it up with this Mimic Vat. You pay 3, you get a copy of it. You get whatever ETB, LTB, trigger, whatever it has. You get that. You get whatever power it is in combat. Whatever you're going to be doing with it, cool. Make sure you get it to your end step, though. Copy it with your commander, and all of a sudden you get an extra copy of, my example might just be Gary, which I love Gary. But yeah, being able to just get extra copies of Gary or Terastodon or something even bigger, obviously. Being able to get extra copies of some massive things is absolutely fantastic. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. And keep in mind, when it comes to that, if you've got certain creatures in this deck that are non-token, obviously, that you can really take advantage of by getting more and more of them out there, my goodness, the amount of value you can have. Nightmare Shepherd, a great creature for this deck. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except say 1/1 Nightmare to other types. So we're getting, just 1/1s. That's okay, though, because, again, with those creatures, if we are getting extra copies of them, we can create extra copies with our commander. We can get whatever benefits they are giving us. And my goodness, there are some absurd benefits. We'll talk about some crazy creatures that if you're getting token copies of them, you are just destroying the game. Next up, Dollhouse of Horrors. This one's a fantastic card. Pay 1, tap, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create token's copy of the exile card, except a 0/0 construct artifact creature token. In addition to other types, if it has this creature gets +1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Basically, just keep this in play. It's a kind of like repeatable reanimation effect in a way. Not really reanimate because you're not bringing the card back, but even better for this commander, you're making a token copy of that card. So by doing so, you are getting that into play. Again, you can create token copies of that thanks to your commander. By doing so, you're going wider with all of those, getting whatever benefits they give you, and of course, those creatures get more and more and more power and toughness, I guess, too. More of them are out there, because that's more constructs. Absolutely incredible. Next up, Star the Necromancer, 4/4 Menace. Whenever it attacks, exile a target creature card from your graveyard, create tap an attacking token to copy that card, except it's 3/3 Wraith with Menace. Beginning of the next end step, exile the token unless Sorin's your ring bearer. Again, even if you don't have it as your ring bearer, that's okay, because once at that end step, you can stack those triggers however you want, make extra copies of that 3/3 Wraith Menace, whatever it is, token copy of one of your creatures. So keep that in mind. God Pharaoh's Gift. Yet another way to do this. Again, you want to make sure you're considering ways to make token copies of your actual creatures. Beginning of combat, your turn, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do create a token's copy of that card, except a 4/4 black zombie, gains haste until end of turn. So there are certain ways, again, if you can utilize tutors, like get these cards in your hand, get them in play. There are certain tutors out there as well that can like tutor creatures into your graveyard. So yeah, like Final Parting, that tutors a card in your hand and a card in your graveyard. Oh, wow, great. Set yourself up for that. Set yourself up with the creature in the graveyard. Get that one exiled. Make a token copy of it. All of a sudden, you can go crazy with your commander. Now, when it comes to going crazy, let's talk about some more simplistic approaches when it comes to just, okay, what makes this commander good? Well, getting tokens into play. At the beginning of the game, all of a sudden you're just like, you know what? Let's just get as many tokens as quickly into play as possible as I can so I can generate an absurd amount of mana for basically tapping my commander and, oh no, losing 2 life. Who cares? Pest Infestation. Get that life back. Disrupt to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens. With this one's creature dies, you gain 1 life. So this is an XX spell. Basically, you're destroying half the amount of, artifacts and enchantments as you're making tokens. Still, I mean, with this commander, again, you can generate a lot of mana, do so, dump that into this, make even more tokens to flood the board. Absolutely incredible, while destroying your opponent's things. Next up, Awakening Zone. Getting for upkeep, may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token. It has sacrifices creature at colorless. Now, you can sacrifice those spawns if you need to, like, ramp temporarily. That's nice. But also, just by keeping them in play, it's kind of like permanent ramp because your commander just lets you tap them instead of sacrificing them for mana. You can also, if you really need to generate a lot of mana very quickly, tap your commander, tap all those, sacrifice them as well for extra mana too. So, yeah, this is another way to, again, every single one of your upkeeps making spawns. It's absolutely lovely. Peregrine Took. If one or more tokens you create in your control, those tokens plus additional food token are created instead. You can also sacrifice 3 foods if you want to draw a card. My goodness, the amount of value this can give you is crazy. Again, this deck's going to be creating tokens here, there, and everywhere, and every single time you do so, you get 1 additional food. So again, keep in mind with this one, it's like if you're making, again, like 10 pests at once, you're still only getting 1 food. But if you make one thing, then another, then another, then another, for each one you're making, you get a food on top of that, which of course can be tapped with your commander for absurd value. And if you need to sacrifice and draw cards, you can too. Tyler's Provisioner, I can't believe this is budget friendly. Landfall, landers battlefield to control, create a food token or a treasure token. Yeah, typically you're going to be creating treasure tokens with this, but with this you might create foods actually, again, because your commander is allowing you to utilize those things for mana, and you have to tap them to do so. So yeah, it can go either way. I mean, I guess having those treasures as a backup is nice, but also, sure, if you need to gain some life because your commander does have you lose life, yes, then sure, utilize that as well. Next up, Tyler's Tracker. Landers battlefield control, you make a clue. Cool. So do so. I guess I should say you investigate, which means you make a clue. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you get a counter on this. So go wide with a lot of clues. And again, like I mentioned with clues specifically, it doesn't matter if they're tapped or untapped. Again, you can just tap them with your commander and you can still sacrifice them to draw cards. So definitely keep that in mind. Harass the Endless Web. Your opponents can help you now too. Thank you so much, opponents. Whenever opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Again, it does not matter what the tokens are at all. Your commander does not care. Tap your commander, lose a little bit of life, generate absurd amounts of mana. It doesn't matter if it's a spider, if it's a food, whatever it is, that's great. And also, sure, creating a bunch of 1/2 creatures with reach can be fantastic to help you block things as well. Ogre, Slumlord, oh my goodness, the amount of creature tokens this can generate is absurd. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may create a 1/1 black red creature token. Rats, you control have Death Touch. So these are deadly little creatures, which is lovely. But keep in mind, it counts whenever your creatures die, your opponent's creatures die, anyone creatures die, as long as they're non-token, you are replacing them with a rat for just you. You're not replacing your opponent's creatures for them. Anyways, being able to generate a giant army that, again, you can either attack with, very deadly with that Death Touch, or, hey, keep them back for blocks, or, yeah, tap them for an absurd amount of mana. It's not to love about that. Hydra Broodmaster. Oh my goodness. This can be, well, a token generator as well as an amazing finisher for you. It's a 7/7 for 6 mana, XX and a green for Monstrosity X. Dump a ton of mana into that. Helps monsters create X, XX green Hydra creature tokens. The more mana you put into that, the bigger those are going to be and the wider you are going. So, yeah, you can end the game pretty quickly with that. Army of the Damned. Yeah, would you like to spend 8 mana to generate 13 mana, most likely? Let's do that. Sorcery for 8 mana again. Create 13 tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Now they are tapped. Do keep that in mind. You can't utilize them right away for mana with your commander. That's unfortunate. That being said, it's a lovely army to have. Very deadly. Again, 26 power total. You can also flash it back to do that again. And who doesn't want 26 zombies that you can just tap for mana and be like, okay, I tap my commander, tap my army, I make 26 mana, and I probably win the game. Azorius Predation, another amazing card that if it's not included in that deck, please include it. Sorcery for 8 mana in total. For each creature opponents control, create a 4/4 green Phyrexian Beast creature token. Each of those tokens fights a different one of those creatures. This is a great board wipe. It isn't a complete board wipe. Your opponent's creatures that are bigger than 4/4s, or have more toughness than 4, I guess I should say, are going to survive. That's okay. What matters is this gets a ton of creatures out there for you. It fights, it takes out medium to small creatures, and allows you to keep a good amount of those tokens around as well. This can be a one-sided board wipe, essentially, that gives you an army as well. 8 mana might seem like a lot, but again, you're in green. You have a commander that can give you a lot of mana. That does not matter at all. And then you've got even more mana you can generate the next time, or you've got an army that you can take your opponents out with. Next up, Vitalize. Let's talk about some other kinds of cards to consider as well. Vitalize, a card that for instant speed, for just a single green mana, untaps all creatures you control. It is important. You know, there are definitely cards out there like Seeker of Skybreak that can tap to untap a specific creature, and yeah, that's good to untap your commander, but you also are utilizing your commander to tap for tapping the tokens. So if you already have tapped all your tokens, it's not going to help you. This untaps all creatures you control, so if you are leaning heavy into creature tokens, then yes, this can be a 1 mana like giant ritual effect for you, or a great just combat trick too. Like your opponent's like, they tapped out, I'm swing at them, and you're like, Vitalize, untap, block, yay. Next up, Idol of Oblivion. This can be a crazy good draw engine for you, and also a win condition too. Artifact for 2, tap, draw a card, active if you create a token this turn, pay 8 and tap, sacrifice it, create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. This, again, is a great way to just tap, okay, draw a card, awesome, tap, draw a card, okay, awesome. Again, basically every single one of your turns, you're most likely going to be making creature tokens, right? I mean, literally, if you just get to your end step with your commander, you will be doing so, as long as you have another token in play. So, you can also pay 8, tap, make a giant 10/10 that your commander can also copy for you. So it can be, again, a great draw engine, a great win condition. If it's not in the deck, definitely include it. Mirkwood Bats. Yes, this is a crazy good card. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. You're going to be draining your opponents in absolutely no time with something like this, especially if you've got ways to sacrifice your tokens, whether those are free sacrifice outlets, whether that is, well, you have treasures or clues or food that can actually just be sacrificed themselves. Definitely keep that in mind as well. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to finish off opponents, whether it's, attack with your giant army, drain them with something like this. You can go in a lot of different directions with that. Next up, for the Pricier picks, I do want to mention that I believe it's been confirmed that Chatterfang Squirrel General is already in the deck. So keep that in mind with a reprint of Chatterfang, apparently. So do keep that in mind. If it's not in the deck, yeah, consider it. But I believe I saw somewhere that it is actually in the deck. It has been revealed to be in the deck. So keep that in mind. An amazing card, obviously, for if you're going heavy into Squirrel Tribal, or even if you're not, it doesn't matter. This is a giant token generator for you. Toski, Bear of Secrets. If you are going into Squirrel Tribal, this is an amazing squirrel for you. And even if you're not, this is a crazy good draw engine. A 1/1 squirrel for 4 mana, can't be countered, indestructible, attacks each combat fable. Whenever a creature control deals combat to a player, draw a card. Again, that's whenever any creature deals combat to a player. It's not 1 or more, so it's not limited to just 3, 1 for each opponent each turn. This is, oh no, I got through with 8 creatures. Cool, I'm drawing 8. Oh my goodness. Basically coastal piracy on a creature that is a squirrel, so keep in mind it's getting all the other squirrel benefits that you do have. Next up, Deep Forest Hermit, a 1/1 elf druid for 5 mana, vanishing 3, enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 squirrels. Squirrels you control get ++1. This is one that, if you get a token copy of it, yeah, it's vanishing, so it will eventually go away. That being said, you keep getting more and more token copies of it. You keep adding to your squirrel army again by 4 each and every single time, and you also keep building up squirrel anthems as well. Yeah, sign me up for that. And even if you aren't making token copies of this, again, with one of the ways that we already talked about, or the one of the ways I'll talk about here in a second, it's still going to be a great card if you are going Squirrel Tribal or you just want to go wide with tokens quickly. Next up, Mirror Pool. Again, a way to, used to be budget friendly. Now it's outside of my budget. $1.31 still isn't too bad. Enters battlefield, tap for a colorless. Pay 2 in a colorless, tap, sacrifice it. Copy an instant sorcery, basically, that you control. Pay 4 in a colorless and tap, sacrifice it, create tokens, copy target creature you control. So again, one of the ways in this color combination, unfortunately we don't have blue, which makes sense, I guess, with squirrels. There aren't really any blue squirrels out there, except for changelings, I know. But basically a way to say, you know what? Whatever creature I have, I can make a token copy of that, which my commander can then duplicate again and again and again. So yeah, it's going to be worth it. Bramble Sovereign. My goodness. Oh, this was only 38 cents cheaper. It's a Dryad for 4 mana. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, it may pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that copy of that creature. It's gotta be that creature. So basically, pay an extra 2 mana, and all of a sudden, you can double up one of your creatures. You play a creature, cool, it's coming into play. Yeah, I'll pay 2 extra mana to get an extra copy of that. Awesome. I get an amazing extra, again, ETB, effect, whatever it is out of that thing. And on top of that, I can copy it with my commander now. Minion Reflector, an artifact for 5. Non-token creature comes into play under control. You may pay 2. If you do play a token, that's copy of that creature into play. Token gains haste. At the end of the turn, you sacrifice it. Again, end of turn, you are getting rid of it. You are sacrificing it. But your commander, again, you can stack those triggers so you can actually make a token copy of that token, which will permanently stick around. So do keep that in mind. Second Harvest. I wish you were budget friendly. You used to be. And then Treasures got really popular. Instant for 4 mana in green. For each token you control, put a token on the battlefield. Let's copy that permanent. 4 mana instant speed. Double up your tokens. It's a game-ending card, or one that can just really set yourself up for success. Again, like right before your turn, you're like, okay, got 10 tokens in play. It doesn't really matter what they are, again, with this kind of a deck. Like, they're miscellaneous tokens, whatever. Cool. Yeah, I got 4 mana lying around. Pay 4. Copy all my tokens. Cool. I've got 20 tokens now. My commander all of a sudden is tapping for 20. Yeah, I've got plenty of ways to win from there. Doubling Season, if I don't mention it, I get yelled at. Yes, Doubling Season, Parallel Lives. Any of those ones are like, hey, double up tokens. They're gonna be good in this deck. Cool. Also, this one doubles up counters too, if that matters as well. Next up, Parallel Evolution. For each creature token in play, its controller creates a creature token, or sorry, puts another creature token of that in play, essentially. You can also flash this back. Now, keep in mind, this does benefit your opponents. That being said, it is highly unlikely that they're focusing as much as you are on making an absurd amount of creature tokens. So keep that in mind. You can also flash it back again. So if you have, again, say 10 squirrels in play, and then you make 10 more squirrels, you're at 20, and then you cast this again, you're going to be at 40 squirrels. Very easy way to just go out of control with this kind of a deck. Awaken the Woods. Speaking of going out of control, a great X spell in this deck. Sorcery for X green, X 1/1 green, forest red land creature tokens. This one is just kind of absurd because, again, you can just literally utilize them as forests. So keep that in mind. They are affected by Summoning Sickness, so do keep that in mind. That being said, if you maybe untap your commander or you haven't used your commander yet, you can still use your commander to tap these untapped tokens to then utilize them for mana on that first turn. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, a great way to just flood the board with more creature lands. Category Manufacturer. If you create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. Yeah, if you're creating any one of those, again, if you're utilizing this deck in the way that I probably would, where it's like, I'm just trying to get a lot of tokens out there. I don't care if they're foods. I don't care if they're clues. I don't care if they're treasures. I don't care what they are. Just get a bunch of tokens out, utilize my commander to the fullest. Yeah, if you're making a good amount of each of these, cool. Now all of a sudden, whenever you make one, you basically make 3. A lot of value to be had there. So yeah, extra card advantage there, extra life gain there, and extra ramp there as well. Technically. Next up, speaking of ramp, Pitiless Plunderer. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. That does not specify non-token creature. Any of your creatures die, you replace with a treasure. So again, if you have, let's say, your army of token creatures, and they get wiped out, you replace them immediately with 1 token per each one. So you don't even go down on tokens really at all with this. It's an incredible card. It's one that I wish was more budget friendly. Definitely used to be, but it's definitely an amazing, I don't know how this is uncommon. Crazy good card. Revel Enrich is kind of the opposite. Creature opponent controls dies, you make a treasure. Again, doesn't matter what kind of creature it is. That's great. On top of that, you can just win the game by having 10 treasures or more at your upkeep. Sure, you win the game that way, or just get an absurd amount of value out of this. Next up, Tender Shoot Dryad. Ascend. If you had City's Blessing, your saplings get +2/+2. And beginning of each upkeep, you get a 1/1. These kind of cards that give you a 1/1 every single upkeep, not just your own, are absurd in Commander. Because again, There's 4 upkeeps. You're getting 4 creature tokens every single turn, so your commander has more things to potentially copy and just go wider and basically just get an extra 4 mana every single turn with your commander. Lovely. Beldur's Witherbloom, in that same vein, even if each upkeep you get a 1/1 pest, which again can gain you life to make up for that 2 life that you lose. Oh no, the 2 life. You can also pay 10 life and untap all lands you control, so you can get absurd quantities of mana with this commander when set up properly. Next up, Old Gnawbone. Yeah, also this. Whenever a creature control deals combat to a player, you get that many treasure tokens. Absolutely absurd. Again, just getting through on opponents, all of a sudden you're making more tokens, which gives you more mana, which gives you more resources. Again, technically they would be temporary mana, but again, with your commander, it's basically permanent mana because you are tapping your commander and tapping those treasures instead of sacrificing them for mana. So yeah, a lot of ways to go crazy. Swarmyard, just a great card, especially if your commander is a squirrel. Tap for a colorless, tap regenerate target instant rat, spider, or squirrel. Again, if you are going squirrel tribal, yeah, you've got a lot of good squirrels out there. Protect them, especially your commander. A great card for this deck. Maskwood Nexus, everything is a squirrel. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control. Creature cards you own that are on the battlefield. Pay 3 and tap. Create a 2/2. Blue shapeshifter creature when changeling. Just by getting one of these out here, if you don't have any other squirrels in play, cool, this is technically a squirrel. All of a sudden, every single one of your end steps, you're making 2 of these shapeshifters. So that's, 4 power across 2 bodies. That's quite nice. But also it adds again to the amount of tokens you have in play that you can potentially tap. So do keep that in mind. Finally, Seedborn Muse. Okay, this is where things get absolutely ridiculous. A 2/4 spirit for 5 mana. Untap all permanents you control during each of the player's untapped step. Again, by untapping all permanents you control, like Vitalize, it was untap all creatures. That's nice. This is like, oh, no. Untap everything. That means your lands, so that's extra ramp there. It means also untap your commander and all of the tokens as well. Doesn't matter if they're creature or non-creature tokens. So you can tap your commander again on your opponent's turns for absurd amounts of mana. Have fun with that as well. And also just keep in mind the ridiculousness that could happen if you, I don't know, happen to get token copies of Seedborn Muse in play that you then copied with your commander. You see where this is going and why it's pretty absurd. So, now this episode is coming to a close. You can see why I am so excited about this brand new commander. It is a commander that, again, when it comes to Precon commanders, they can definitely explode in popularity, and I can see this one becoming very popular. I mean, mass mana is definitely something that can be quite popular, and of course, token generation is something that can be quite popular. This is one that does have a beloved creature type with squirrels, so yeah, you can lean heavily into that if you want to, and I gave you some resources to do so. You can also lean in other directions where you're just going wide with a bunch of tokens. Doesn't matter what kind of tokens they are. You've got a lot of ways to take advantage of those, a lot of ways to generate mana, a lot of ways to do some big, crazy, powerful things, ways to get creature token copies of creatures that you probably shouldn't get creature token copies of, and then to really utilize them with your commander as well. So again, if you're excited about this commander, maybe consider picking up some of those more budget-friendly ones, or maybe just have some of those cards lying around, like get them ready. If you're really excited about this Precon, you're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade this right away, or I'm just going to build around this commander without the Precon. However you're going to be going about it, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Again, if you are planning on picking up that Precon and want to wait to try to upgrade it for when that Precon comes out and know what cards are already in it, sure, bookmark that, get ready for that Precon. When those cards are revealed, be like, okay, these are already in there, that's already in there, that's already in there. Ooh, that's not in there, that's not in there, that's not in there. And then pick up those cards as soon as you can, because yeah, sometimes when a new commander is spoiled and the Precon cards come out, the cards that work really well with that commander that aren't in the Precon can go up in price sooner rather than later. So again, just trying to be a resource for you. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on all this. Also, if you haven't seen yet and you didn't see that intro video, yeah, I am coming out with a new Kickstarter. It is something that's near and dear to my heart. It's a passion project I've been working on for a long time now. My very own card game, 7 Secret Supervillains. So if you would, I'd really appreciate if you check that Kickstarter out and followed it, because yeah, I'm really excited about it. So let me know your thoughts are on all this in the comments below. Check out that card list in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.